what you really want to watch for is teams targeting defenders. If there is a weak defender out there, what they do usually is they set a pick and roll so that the weakest defender they put in the pick and roll, they have that player, whether it's a point guard, two guard, whoever, set the pick so that when you come off, your best offensive player goes against the weakest defender. Watch for that, and then ask yourself, can I use that in my game? Hey, welcome to another Coaching You podcast with the coach, Brendan Suhr, presented by Noah Basketball. This is really a fun time for all of us in coaching now. God, I must have had 15 texts today of coaches watching NBA playoff games, and I love this. And we're going to talk today about playoffs, how teams are preparing, how do you make adjustments from game to game, and then I have questions for you to ask for what you do when you're coaching and playing in a big game. But remember, we have 1 week till April 30th to sign up for our early bird registration for our Coaching You Live event, our clinic in Las Vegas, July 12 and 13. $175 for general admission. After the 30th, it goes to $225. Please take $50 off and sign up. Okay, we have limited number of VIPs still available. That, is you're sitting courtside, you're getting, lunch and things like that. Fabulous setup for you. That's obviously our most popular thing. But the VIP we have a few spots left for that. And our early bird, take advantage, 8 days to go. For those of you that do not have our Coaching You Plus app, please go and sign up, coachingyouplus.com, coachingyouplus.com. The reason I want you to do it, this is when you learn. This is when you're trying to improve as a coach. But more importantly, every one of our Coaching You events, especially this one, May 3rd, our first one of this season in Alabama, the Alabama Association of Basketball Coaches, they have a fabulous clinic on Saturday, May the 3rd. All of our members to our Coaching You Plus app can watch the clinic live stream. So no matter where you are in the world, you can go online, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time, and you can watch a great clinic. And who's in this great clinic? Lenny Akoff, the new head coach of Samford University, one of the great coaches, especially on the offensive end in college ball. Mick Hudspeth, who is at the University of Alabama, Huntsville, won all but 3 games this year. Just a tremendous coach in his first year there. Corey Williams, the associate head coach of the number 1 team in the country virtually all year, the Auburn Tigers. Corey's one of the really great assistant coaches in the country. He's going to be presenting some of the things that Auburn does. We love that. You want to learn some unbelievable ideas and concepts about the college offensive basketball. Nick Pasqua from Converse College in Spartanburg, South Carolina, is going to be there to teach. You will love what he does. Jay Billis turned me on to him last year, and I'll tell you what, one of the great young coaches in the game today. TJ Saint, a veteran coach in the G League, works for the Pelicans. He's the coach of the Birmingham Squadron in the G League, and I think you're really going to enjoy him. He is a really top-of-the-line coach. Tony Pujols, who's one of the best coaches in the ASUN Conference, took his team to the final game against Lenny Akoff this year. Tony's at the University of North Alabama. He was with us at our inaugural clinic down there. He is absolutely a fabulous coach. I think you'll enjoy him. Farron Key, the head coach of Wallace State, a tremendous junior college program in the state of Alabama, was a longtime high school coach in the state. I think you're going to really enjoy him. And then Antoine Petway. Antoine Petway is just a star on the rise. Was at the University of Alabama forever, became the head coach of Kennesaw State, and he has done a remarkable job there. Alabama guy coming home to present a clinic, and I think you're really going to love him. So again, May 3rd, again, you want to come. If you're a member of our Coaching U Plus, you can watch it live stream and really enjoy. I think it's really, really a cool way to learn. All right. What are we going to learn or talk about today? Okay, I want to talk about the playoffs. I want to talk about the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference, and then some other things. Now you're watching, and this is what I emphasize every year. We have a lot of new listeners, so I want to make sure that you understand. People always say, when you watch a game, what do you look for? What do you do? Well, when I watch a game, I have two things next to me. I have a notebook, a notepad, and then also I have diagram sheets, okay? And the diagram sheets are so that I don't have to draw them up. I take notes during the game of things I see. I want to remind myself. And then later on, I transfer them to a journal that I keep on how to get better. On my diagram pad, if I see a great out-of-bounds play, and the NBA is full of incredible side out-of-bounds plays, great crunch time offensive sets, defensive alignments. We'll talk about some of those things that are happening now because you're playing against the best of the best, and every game means something in the NBA playoffs. And also there's preparation time. There's actual practice time that many teams haven't had since they started the season. I think J.J. Redick said the other day his team had not really had a practice for a month prior to the playoffs, the week of preparation for the playoffs. So it's really, really important to see what they do and how do you make adjustments. All right, let's talk about some of the teams in the East. The number one seed is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Incredible year. Kenny Atkinson, pretty much going to be the coach of the year. Just did an absolutely fabulous job. By the way, coach of the year this year, there's about 8 guys that I think can qualify. Everyone just writes off the guy that had the best record by far and won a landslide, Mark Daigneault, who was last year's coach of the year at Oklahoma City. We've never seen a team have this difference from first place to second place ever being as great in modern NBA history. So Mark, we just write him off because he was great last year, that he's not the coach of the year. The hardest thing to do is to keep improving when you're good. So he was the number one seed last year, and he crushed it this year even better. So, and to think about the week of preparation, Mark, the coach of the year, Kenny Atkinson had his team ready to play a team that had one day of preparation, the Miami Heat, Eric Spoelstra, one of the great coaches in the NBA. So Cleveland came out very ready. They were prepared. And I think as you're going to see, they got off to a great start. Cleveland's focused on how do we stop Tyler Hero, who has had a monster year. He's really put himself in position to be an all-pro player. And Bam Adebayo is absolutely a stud, playing 4 and 5. I think, but what Cleveland has done is they've developed a team. They go 10 deep in their roster. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland have just been absolutely incredible. They're really the first team in the last 2 years that have played with 2 bigs. Everyone was playing 5 out, sometimes like Golden State without even a big man. Cleveland plays with 2 postmen, and they are virtually all-star caliber players. Jared Allen, who's literally only 27 years old, is just Jared Allen, which I love, plays all 82 games every year. Talk about a value in that young man. And then on top of that, we have, our guy that has just been, when he was a draft choice out of USC, they signed him to a huge contract this year. And I think one of the biggest things that you now have a 4-man who can play 5 in Mobley, that he's a 4-man, and when he plays pick and roll and you switch and he take his guard down low, do you have a big man on a switch that can score with his back to the basket within 8 feet? And that's what they have. They have 2 of those players and 2 great rollers. So I think it's a good series. I don't see any way that Miami can slow them down. They just don't have the depth to be able to. But I think Spo did a great job of getting them that far. I expect Cleveland to get through the first round. Number 2 seed was Boston, and they're playing Orlando. Orlando's a team that just is decimated by injuries. Franz Wagner only, I think, got to play 45 games this year. Paolo Banchero got hurt after like 4 or 5 games this year with a strained abdomen. And all of a sudden, we had a guy that was scoring 50 points in a game all of a sudden being out. I think what you're seeing is Paolo Banchero is a all-pro player. And I think, but Boston, I think they had pause all season getting ready for the playoffs. Right now they seem pretty healthy, and I think if they can get through injury-free, I think you're going to see a team in the Eastern Conference Finals against Cleveland. The other team, New York, the 3rd seed, against my Detroit Pistons. And I think the Pistons are a team that tripled their wins from 13 to 42 or 43 this year. And they have an all-pro player in Cade Cunningham, the number 1 pick several years ago. They won 13 games last year. He virtually missed 90% of the season. And so now with him there, he has established himself. I heard a great take this morning from an NBA GM that called me and said, would you trade Luka Doncic for Cade Cunningham? And at first you go, absolutely not. And then all of a sudden you say, 22 years old? Wow. Plays both ways, 6'7" point guard, pretty intriguing player, and a real leader. So they are a terrific team. New York has got their hands full now, 1-1 that series, going to Detroit for 2 games. I think New York's got its hands full. I like Detroit maybe for an upset here. I'm biased, though. Pistons, go Bad Boys, okay? And then the 4th conference matchup in the East is Indiana Pacers, Rick Carlisle, coaching partner with Chuck Daly and myself and the late, great Paul Silas in New Jersey Nets. Rick was starting out his first year coaching, and he's matched up against my former draft choice and player that I coached for 8 years, Doc Rivers in Milwaukee. I hate when my friends play against each other, but Doc has really been struggling with Dame out of the lineup. He's coming back this evening for game 2. But how much practice has he had? 1, 2 practices, so has been out for weeks. It's going to be really hard. The thing I love about the Pacers is they play different than everyone else. They press full court man-to-man after every basket. They run the ball up the court. They play unbelievably fast, and they play about 9 players, 10 players a game, each half. And I think it really wears the other squad out. I really like Indiana in this one to advance, because I think just like last year, people forget they made the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they're a really strong team, really good scores. I just like the makeup of their team. They've done a great job in building a team, which, now in the college game with NIL and the collective, now you have a chance to build teams, build rosters. It's not as easy as to think. The Indiana Pacers have done one heck of a job, and a lot of young players. Okay, let's go over to the Western Conference. Our Oklahoma City Thunder, round 1, playing Memphis, 1-day rest after they beat the heck out of Dallas. How would you like to be a first-game coach, have coached 9 games, and now you're playing the number 1 seed? OKC beat Memphis by 51 points. Never had that happen to me, regular season or playoff game. Lost by 30, never lost by 51. It's good. I'm really anxious to watch and see how they bounce back. Game 2 as a road team is an incredibly hard game, but it's probably the most important of your series. When you're 1-0 as the home team, there's a tendency to relax, and especially if you won by 51. So I'm really going to watch and see how this very young, the youngest team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, are younger than the Auburn Tigers. How about that? To see how they respond. And I think that's going to... So I love OKC in this playoff series. I just appreciate what they've done all year. I love their defense. I love how hard they play. I love how they drive the basketball. And now, as opposed to last year, they got two bigs. Hartenstein has been absolutely incredible. You can see the difference with him on OKC and not on the Knicks. The energy, the defense, the rebounding, the shot blocking he provided, the hustle teammate. And now they also have the big fella, and I'll tell you what, I knew he would have a hard time being a center, but now as a power forward, I think Chad's a hell of a power forward. And now those two big guys together with all their versatile wing players makes their team so dynamic. The number 2 seed was Houston. Ime Udoka has done an absolutely fabulous job in rebuilding that squad. When he took over, I think they were a 21-win team, and they won, I think, 52 this year. Tremendous job. And his teams are who he is as a player. When he played for the New York Knicks when I was there. I signed him to a 10-day contract. He was a G League player. And what he was he was under-talented, but, man, he was tough. He was a grinder, and he came and showed up every day. That's how he coaches. And I tell you what, I like their team. I like their team a lot, but the difference in playing Golden State is Golden State has 3 stars. 3 stars in Steph, playoff Jimmy, and Draymond Green. 3 stars. And really the other guys, they don't have any stars. They got a lot of good players. They got great athletes, but they don't have stars. And so even with home court advantage, Golden State winning game 1 rather easily now sets that now Golden State has home court advantage. So that's going to be a young team, hard to win the first time you experience it, especially as a high seed. And then Golden State is not your normal 7 seed. So I think that's a Golden State advancing. The intriguing series next is the Lakers in Minnesota. Tough matchup for the Lakers. And also the Denver, we're going to talk about afterwards, the Denver Clippers series. Those 2 series have 4 teams that are so balanced and so equal. That's why literally going into the last game, they were all tied with Golden State. 5 teams tied to who would get playoff seedings. So I really like, the Lakers are in, I think, a must-win situation after getting absolutely thumped in game 1. And Minnesota, I don't know when you're on the road if you can play better. Now I love to see how you're going to playing on Saturday, winning, and now spending Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night in LA. Can you stay disciplined enough and focused enough on game 2? Or are you going away satisfied? The Lakers are going to come out ready to go. I look at this series going back to Minnesota, tied 1-1, and now Minnesota has home court advantage. They must get 2 games at home. So it's going to be a terrific series. I love that. I think what we, have seen, is a couple of things. With the Lakers, Luka, LeBron, and Reeves have to play better. I mean, Luka had a lot of points, but, in the playoffs, we're going to talk about it later. Everyone can score, but it's about can you stop people? And that's what I think. And, Ant was incredible, making shots, got nervous when he got hurt. But I'll tell you what, as a squad, they really played as a team. If they can channel this like they did last year when they beat Denver, I think we got something really going. So, and then the Clippers, I think the Clippers are outstanding. I really do. I think Ty Lue's a terrific coach. Jeff Van Gundy coming back to coaching. First playoff win for my friend Jeff Van Gundy since he was with the Knicks in with Houston in 2007. How about that? 2007. Last time he won a playoff game. That's fabulous. But he's a defensive guru. He's doing a great job as an assistant. Reinventing himself after broadcasting for so many years. He's just spectacular. I love this. No one has seen Kawhi Leonard play this great in years. One of the top 5 players in the game right now. Absolutely unstoppable. And defensively, we all know, maybe the best defender in the league on the perimeter. And then Harden, he's 35. He's playing like he's 25. One of the best pick and roll players in the game. The difference maker, I think, in this series with Jokic, who's the best offensive center in the, virtually maybe almost of all time, is Zubac is so big and so strong and so good that he's almost semi-neutralizing. Even though he had a triple-double last night, he really is almost neutralizing because of his physicality. So this is going to be, if they can go home and win 2 games, Denver's really going to struggle, because this is, I think the Clippers might be a better team with depth. They have a lot of depth, and they're really, really well coached. And, our friends in Denver made an incredibly bold move. They dismissed Mike Malone with 3 games to go. David Adelman's come in, did a fabulous job. He won his last 3 regular season games, and he won his first playoff games. Doing a terrific job, and a terrific coach, and so one of the best young coaches in the game. So we got some really great rivalries. Now, as I told you, make sure when you're watching these games, don't become a fan. I want you to enjoy the games, but don't be a fan. Really do some work and see what you can use, or you look at and say, hey, I like that. Jeff Van Gundy in game 1, when they really, Jamal, actually was really cooking in the Denver's game, and Jokic were the only 2 guys that were really going. So what Jamal Murray, as they came up to court, all of a sudden Jeff Van Gundy had them double teaming him, shutting off Jokic, and they were leaving the far corner player open so that he could rotate to him. He wouldn't let them run their offense. He wouldn't let them play pick and roll. This is in the NBA. You don't have time to do this during the season, but now where you can prepare and do something to stop someone, even make an adjustment late in the game with a veteran team, I thought it was brilliant coaching. You'll see more double teaming of a player in the post if they get hot. And I think, what you really want to watch for is teams targeting defenders. If there is a weak defender out there, what they do usually is they set a pick and roll so that the weakest defender they put in the pick and roll, they have that player, whether it's a point guard, 2 guard, whoever, set the pick so that when you come off, your best offensive player goes against the weakest defender. Watch for that, and then ask yourself, can I use that in my game? And so I think it's really interesting stuff. Noah Basketball is our new presenting sponsor of our Coaching You podcast. Noah Basketball is a shot tracking and data company that has helped change how coaches and players perfect the game's most important skill, shooting. Noah is a data service provider that uses machine learning and the latest computer vision technology to provide real-time data and feedback to improve shooting accuracy and consistency for professional and amateur basketball players. Noah has now analyzed over 570 million shots from countless high school, hundreds of college teams, and 28 NBA franchises. The technology is simply amazing. Once the system has been installed, players will be able to get immediate feedback on their shooting arc, left and right positioning, depth, makes or misses, and makes the data available to players and coaches on your mobile device. For more information about how Noah can help your team, visit noahbasketball.com. Coaches, are you looking to take your game preparation to the next level? Then Fast Model Sports is the perfect coaching software for you. With FastDraw, build an organized library of plays and drills and create professional playbooks to share with your players and staff. You can also download over 9,500 free plays and drills from our Playbank directly to your FastDraw account. Looking for a better way to build your scouting reports and want to include video? With FastScout, build custom scouting report templates to prepare your team best for each individual opponent. Plus, did you know with the latest updates from Fast Model Sports, you can now include video with your FastScout reports and share with your coaches and staff, all within the FastScout mobile app. The combination of FastDraw and FastScout is by far the best way for you and your coaches to create winning game strategies and effectively communicate them to your team. Over 10,000 high school and youth coaches trust Fast Model Sports products to help their teams reach their goals. To order, go to fastmodelsports.com. Use code COACHINGU15 to get 15% off any FastDraw or Fast Scout products. Remember, go to fastmodelsports.com, use code CoachingU15 to get 15% off any Fast Draw and Fast Scout products. Now, here's a couple of ideas, and I love to do this with you. When my high school coach and my mentor, who I worked with, the great Hubie Brown, who finished his broadcasting career, when Hubie used to do clinics, he was the best clinician in the world, really. And when he would go and do a clinic, a coaching clinic, he would not just go out there and say, here's what I'm going to show you, an offense or a defense. He would ask you questions. An example would be, can you run your offense versus pressure defense? If they're denying your first pass, wherever it's going to, the elbow, the high post, or the wing, can you run your offense without being able to make that pass? He would ask questions like this. And the reason was he wanted to make you think. And I think it's so important. So I'm going to go through some of these questions for you that I have. Please take these down and then look at them and say, yeah, I have. And when Hubie would ask these questions as a coach, you would sit there and say, no, I don't. I don't have an offense I can run without making a pass. Or yes, I do. And I think it's how I ended up formulating a lot of the stuff that I did as a coach. So number one, can you run your offense under pressure? And that's the pressure defense on whatever play you're going to run. That's number one. Can you, as a defensive team, can you get stops in the fourth quarter when the game's on the line? Do you have a team that's good enough to get stops? Because if you don't, you're just praying that they miss shots. You have to make sure that somehow your team defensively has the confidence, the toughness, the physicality to get stops. And I think that's one of those things when you have a timeout late in the game, you want to be able to emphasize to your players, we need a stop. We need a stop. You got to keep reinforcing that to them. Number three, does your team respond to physical play? The other team being incredibly aggressive defensively, they rebound like crazy. Imagine if you were playing like in the NCAA tournament, you're playing Kelvin Sampson's team, and every time there's a missed shot, you're going against a team for 12 months has been practicing with a freaking bubble on the rim, and they expect every shot to be missed. They're going over your back, they're going around you, they're knocking you down because Kelvin believes we're going to be so physical they can't call a foul every play. And is your team tough enough to block them out? Are they tough enough to compete for a rebound? Are you tough enough that if they blitz your ball screen, they trap your best? I think they call it monster when you isolate or throw the ball into the post. They call it monster when they double team. Can your team handle that? Or are you in trouble? So these are the things that you have to be able to say, can we do that? The fourth one I want to ask you, does your style of play allow you to win a big game? Now, some of you are saying, what the hell kind of question is that? When Chuck Daly and I were coaching the Pistons, and then, it didn't matter if it was New Jersey or Orlando, our philosophy was we were going to play, quote, playoff-style basketball for 82 games. So all of a sudden, during the regular season, we're not floating up and down, firing 50 threes up and stuff like that. We're playing like we're in the playoffs. Every possession's meaningful. We're not turning the ball over. We're trying to get to the foul line. Offensive rebounding is important to us. Defensively, we're getting stops. You going in for a layup, we're hard fouling you, so you have to go to the free throw line and make two. Everything that we were doing was to get habits that were going to help us win come playoff time. All of a sudden, we didn't have to push a button and say, oh, shit, we're in the playoffs now. We got to flip the script. No, we played that way all year long. And do you practice that way? J.J. Redick, who's done an absolutely fabulous job. When I was talking about 5 or 7 guys that have been Coach of the Year candidate, J.J. is one of them. First year in coaching, he's a very bright guy. He's got really good assistants around him. But, you got an older guy, a 22-year veteran in LeBron, who's had a hamstring groin issue. You got him. You have other players that are playing a lot of minutes. Luca, AR, all those guys. Rui's been, injured with his knee, for the last month and a half. So what do you do when you have a week off for practice? Do we go in the gym and we practice hard? Or are we going to make sure we don't try not to get anyone hurt? Two philosophies. Both are right. But JJ had a great comment after they got blown out to Minnesota. He said, I made a mistake. We didn't scrimmage all week. My fault. So he learned that. Now, I read yesterday they had the best practice of the year, which means they practiced hard. Now, but he didn't have practice for a month because of the games were coming one after another. Injuries were there. He was trying to get through the season. How are you going to practice to prepare for your game? It's not time. It's not 2 hours. When in all the years of coaching the NBA, in all the playoff games I've ever coached, Chuck and I never had a practice longer than 45 minutes to an hour come the week of the playoffs. But we did do a controlled scrimmage every single day. It might be for 20 minutes, but that's how we got our and there was 5-on-5. It was getting our defensive reps to guard. It was getting our offensive reps to how to execute under pressure. 10 best players on our team were out there. Not our third string like you have 15 guys in high school or college. No, it was 5-on-5. The 10 best players were getting reps. And I often tell the story that in our first championship, when we beat the Lakers with Riley 4-0, and it's Kareem Worthy Magic, Byron Scott. And what we did is every single day we're practicing, every day. And then we went and won that. That was in the finals. But leading up to that, we had, I guess it was 13 playoff games. We had swept 3 of the 4 series we were in. Only the Bulls took us to 6 games. But it was amazing. We had a lot of off time by sweeping teams. We win a series, sweep it, we had a week off. What do? We would practice. And when we practiced, short, sweet, and making sure we had our reps. And I think that is, and we're practicing our side out of bounds. But remember, on our controlled scrimmage game, for those of you that are new listeners, the controlled scrimmage is, we'll take man-to-man offense. White team has the ball at half court. Coach calls out a play that the defense knows. We're telling them, we want you to know what we're running. Can we execute with you knowing what we're doing? Defense is playing. Shot goes in or miss, we're running back. Shot goes in or missed, first team to score 2 baskets wins. We stop, we reset. Winner has the ball at half court. Why was that important? Number one, we got to condition. We worked on fast break offense. We worked on transition defense. We worked on offensive rebounding because it was whoever scored the first 2 baskets. We worked on making good decisions, taking good shots. Because if I took a bad shot, I turned the ball over, the other team's going to get the ball and score, and we lose that little game. We would play that for at least 20 minutes. The reason I tell you this, and 5-on-5 is so important, and we could start with a side out of bounds play to work on, our 3-point shot plays, our execution on the side. We could start with a press defense, full court. Wherever you start, 2 baskets to win. Our second team in Detroit, the backups, never lost in 6 weeks to the world champion Detroit Pistons. Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Mark Aguirre, Rick Mahorn, Bill Laimbeer. The second string beat them every single scrimmage. We played 9 guys. That's why we were so good, because the second team was so confident when they got playing time, they could beat anyone. So it's really important that you develop your guys even through your tournament, even through your playoffs. Okay. Here's the next question, number 5. Can you play through poor or inconsistent officiating? Really, really important. In the playoffs, since every game is so important, there's going to be bad calls, even though these are the best officials that are out there in the league. And the same thing in college. You're going to have terrific officiating. Hopefully in high school with the state tournament, you have good officiating. But in a big game, can your team play through bad officiating? Guys getting in foul trouble, things like that. I think it starts with you as a coach. Your philosophy of your team, your culture, so to speak, is about no excuses. There's no excuses. We don't say at the end we got beat, we got screwed. The refs, they screwed us. They had our best player had 3 fouls in the first half. No, we never lived there. So the mindset is toughness, mentally, no excuses, and we're going to make sure that no matter what adversity that happens, we're going to fight through it. And it happens. And watch it. And I'm watching the Knicks and the Pistons last night, and that fourth quarter is like World War III. I mean, it's so physical. I had a smile on my face. I said, boy, this is a throwback to the good old days, because they were letting them play. I think you're going to see this throughout the NBA playoffs. And that's fine. So all of a sudden, if your guys are not used to contact, they can't be bitching and moaning about it. They got to play through it. You as a coach can't make that an excuse. That doesn't mean you don't question the official, but don't let that be the reason that you have to address that. You have to be mentally tough. Never expect a foul call. Never expect it. Play so hard. And I think that's a really key thing as you're getting through here. Can you score in crunch time? It's so important now down the stretch of a game, and you'll watch every close game. Can that team that has the ball last, or in the last minute of play, or the last 2 minutes, can they get a good shot? Can they get fouled? Can they go to the line and make free throws? Can you make free throws under pressure? These are all the things. Is your team, do you have a set of plays? We had in our playbook, and many of you have heard me talk about this, we had plays that we used only in the last 4 minutes of the game. You would never see them in the first NBA 44 minutes of the game, or in college 36 minutes. These plays only came out at the end. Why? Because really good coaches can self-scout. Even if they didn't have a scouting report for you, they see what you're running and they make adjustments if they're well coached. We would make sure that we had a package of plays that would look very similar to the stuff we won, but completely different. I think it's really important that you have that in your playbook as an arsenal. All of a sudden, if teams switch to a zone, if they switch to a press, is your team prepared without you calling a timeout to handle that? Belichick in football calls it situational football. Do you practice during the year situational basketball, where without timeouts, your team can respond to, after a free throw, a press, side out of bounds, a team going zone where you came out and you expected them to be in man-to-man? Does your team, can they adapt with your player making a verbal call or quickly set up without you having to take a timeout? So darn important. The last two, number 7. Can you stop a great player? There's always in big games going to be a player that gets hot, that really goes on a roll. Can you make an adjustment to stop that player? And all of a sudden you'll see, a team come out and they'll try to trap Steph Curry. They'll try to trap James Harden. They'll make adjustments like this. They'll try to trap Jokic on the dribble. Can you handle that? Are you a team that's prepared to do that, to stop someone when they get on a roll, or are you just going to let your team drown because you didn't have an answer for it? You have to be able to help your team win. There's a great saying, I'll go to that, when we finish up, about your role as a coach in big games and in tournaments. And the last one, can you come from behind? All of a sudden you get down 10, 12 points. Is the game over, or can you come from behind? Can you all of a sudden turn your defense up? Can you do something to, create a little havoc? Do you have a quick offense to go to rather than having to pass the ball 10 times before you get a good shot? Do you have, in football, we have a 2-minute drill offensively. Do you have something defensively, the equivalent in football of a blitz or something where now all of a sudden we can attack you? That is something you should think about. And all these questions are not to trick you, not to embarrass you, simply to make you think. I think that's so damn important as you get into big games. Chuck Daly had this wonderful saying, and he used to say that in an NBA season, the players only let us coach 3 times a year. We would play 100 games a year, 3 times a year, not 3 games, 3 times. One was when we first got together and we basically had training camp. And basically what we were doing was installing our style of play, offensively and defensively. They were anxious to get back in the gym, and this was going to be our blueprint for success during the season. They were all ears, even the best teams. They want to learn. That's when they would. The other time that they would let us coach was during the season, was if we were playing a big game. 2 first-place teams. The team that, in the NBA case, team that won the world championship the year before. You're playing a big game. You're playing your conference or league rival. That's a big game. They were really, and I'm talking about NBA guys, they really were receptive to that. And the third way they really would let you coach them was in the playoffs, because now that's when they wanted to win. The regular season, the 82 games, was just really what we used to say is 82 games of practice for the tournament, And so now the playoffs, they want to win because this is where your notoriety comes from. This is where they get extra money. This is where they get salary increases. All those things, this is when they do it. This is now when they were receptive. If you don't have a team that's receptive, you're in trouble. But you'll find out that the really good teams, they are all ears. Teams I talked to in the NCAA tournament, when they're going in, that first week going in, their players are all ears. Then they win 2 games and they're going to the Sweet 16. Their players, now they can see it. If we win 2 more, now we're going to Final Four. It's a great way to coach, and you really will see your team as opposed to being complacent. And I think high school coaches, you see it with the state tournament happening. So these are some thoughts that I have as I'm, preparing and watching games, things that I think can help you. But I enjoy these games. The only time I get a little sad is when the end of June comes and we don't have any more games. And then I have to wait for the summer league games to start. So until next week, this is the coach, Brendan Suhr.